Okay, and hello, and welcome back to another video. This time we are still in Nightreign. I know a lot of you are here for the Monster Hunter content, but for my enjoyment, I've been loving Nightreign. It gives me all of the same satisfaction I used to have of joining random hunts in Monster Hunter online and helping people out. So that's great. Also, solo, it's still a pretty good challenge, so that's great as well. So purpose of this video is to go into some of the stats and scaling in Nightreign, assuming you want to get stronger and have an easier time with your runs. So this video started because somebody in my Discord mentioned pumping strength seems bad, and I wanted to see how bad is pumping strength versus using other skills. So let us just show a couple skills that we're going to start with looking at. First is just strength. We are going to be using Raider here, so we're going to be testing on him. I did all of this testing with all of these weapons, but the data you're going to be seeing is specifically off the Winged Greathorn. Winged Greathorn gets really good scaling. I don't think there's any way of upgrading these weapons. I would have loved to done it off of like a legendary Great Axe, but currently in the room you can't do that. So everything stats is going to be off of Winged Greathorn. And most of it is just going to be from either level 1 in here or level 15 out here. Okay, so first up, let's get into strength. Strength scaling on the Raider. Okay, strength. Strength is an interesting one. It starts off as actually being pretty potent at level 1. This does make sense. As you level up, you're naturally going to be getting more stats. And in the case of strength here, at level 1, you just don't really have any strength. So you feel it the most there. Now, obviously, you're not going to be using the Winged Greathorn at level 1. So proportionally, this boost is not going to actually be as good for any other starting weapon that the Raider's going to have. But that being said, it's okay. If you have no other filler pieces to fit into Raider, it's better than nothing. As you can see, though, once you get up to level 15, it ends up only being like a 4% boost, even if you're using almost every relic slot to stack strength on. Okay, so physical attack up. This can be a little confusing to count up. It'll say physical attack up and then physical attack up +1. Physical attack up +1 is technically 2 stacks of physical attack up. But the way I added it up is each instance of physical attack up. So physical attack up +1 and another physical attack up would be physical attack 3. So there's some interesting breakpoints here. 2 points into physical attack isn't that much better than 1 point of physical attack, but 3 points of physical attack and then going up to 4 points of physical attack scales very well. So your breakpoints for physical attack up are 1 point, 3 points, 4 points. If you're getting a free 2 points into it, fine. It's not like it doesn't benefit at all. It is slightly beneficial there. But for the most part, you want 1, 3, or 4. And then don't start chasing 5 or 6. There's almost always going to be a better thing to slot in there. Okay, next one is improved attack on the weapon. So I have the rune relic. It's somewhere in there. I didn't want to pull it out. Assume that this is more or less consistent with other things. Now, I don't have enough relics in the game to try and stack this to see how it scales, but you will see that even 1 point, so either 7 or 8%, that's as good as 3 points in physical attack up. And it beats 8 points in strength. So whether it's Colossal Weapon, remember Raider starts with Colossal Weapon, or Great Axe, or Great Sword, or whatever other starting weapon, bow, anything like that on your starting character, and you are 100% sure that you're going to be sticking to that weapon. So the reason why this one specifically I think is so strong is now you're limited to the RNG type of weapon that you're going to be using. Now this can be offset a little bit, of course. If you're using one of the relics that give you a starting element on your weapon and you're willing to upgrade your starter weapon, that could work out great. One of the ways that you can streak in this game is you want to reduce your reliance on RNG. So if you know your starting weapon is going to be relevant to the build that you're going to have and that you can upgrade it always, because there's always mines, you could always upgrade it up to whatever it is. Was it uncommon, rare, legendary? You could always upgrade it at least to purple. You can do okay. I've beaten John Nightreign before using the starting bow on Iron Eye, upgraded to purple, that just had starting holy. So it is possible to use. You could get lucky and end up finding another one, but that works there. So there is a weird relic type in this game, and it shows up. And when you look at it, it's like, it can't mean that specifically. But if you see attack power with 3+ colossal weapons equipped down there in the corner, what that means is you need to have 3 colossal weapons in your loadout. So if we take a look at our winged axe here, it's 301. If we switch out our top 3 axes with colossal weapons, so 1, 2, 3, it is now 332. So it is very bizarre that that's how it works, but that is how it works. And then when we look at that percentage, it's now 10%, and that's at level 1 and level 15. So it feels like it's just like a flat 10%. And if we look at that compared to improved great axe attack, it's even better than that. So in some ways, assuming you're matching whatever your starting weapon is going to be, right? So if we're playing Raider and we're using 3+ colossal weapons, we start with 1. And the weapons that are going to drop are going to be more geared to us. And assuming you're playing with 2 other people, you could always be like, hey, look, if you see a colossal weapon around, throw it at me. It's going to be part of my build no matter what. So assuming it's not something that they desperately need, like consistent hits for damage negation or something like that, they could throw it over to you and you can use it. Or maybe they can just give it to you anyways. So of like the non-major conditional buffs in the game, this is one of the best ones. And I would say this is worth dedicating an entire slot. Even if you had a small relic with this on there and it like matched what you were going to use, like bows or great swords or whatever else you're going to have, katanas, maybe an executor, go ahead and use this. One note on the Revenant, her starting weapon is not claws. It's fists. So just keep in mind whatever your starting weapon is. Okay, next one is going to be 2 of the boss relics. And I'll point it out now, and I'll mention it again later. They stack in not a good way. So the first one we're going to talk about is Knight of the Wise. So this is what you get for beating the bugs. Increased maximum FP, fine. Starting armament inflicts poison, fine. Poison and rot invincibility increases attack power. So assuming there's anything nearby you that has been poisoned or is afflicted with rot, there's a 12% boost. So this is okay solo, but feels very limiting on certain characters. But if you're playing in a group, and especially if you've got the rot swamp up, it means like you probably want to run this. Or if you're fighting the gaping maw guy and you want to bring poison anyways because it like removes some of his attacks, absolutely run this. That is, again, an even bigger boost than the 3 weapons, which is, again, an even bigger boost than improved great axe attack or whatever the specific one is. So, of course, they're going to take damage anyways, be it poison and rot. And I did test it. If they have poison and rot, it's not extra boost. It's just either one triggers the relic in terms of it working. So this is great for team play. You could have just one guy with a good arcane stat constantly inflicting poison, and then you can just use anything else you want. I did notice John Nightreign is pretty hard to poison. I don't know the exact poison resistance of all the enemies. I'm sure the bugs are very difficult to poison. So you may want to keep that in mind. Like, you'd have to really focus poison on him, and even then, like, you probably want to be using holy anyways. So maybe don't use this specifically on him. But for everything else, and especially in the Gaping Maw guy, this can be very good. Next one that I want to talk about is the Frostbite one. This is the one you get from the Frost Dragon. And this one was a real challenge to try and figure out how the hell it worked. So the first thing is very easy. Nearby Frostbite conceals self. So when you inflict Frostbite, you are then invisible for like 5 seconds. The enemy will stop targeting you. Then your starting weapon will get Chilling Mist. You can use that to inflict frost on your weapon and then more easily inflict frost. So you've got a guaranteed form of frost. The major thing that we're talking about is attack power up when facing Frostbite afflicted enemies. And this one was very confusing because your direct AR under your stat sheet does not change. But if you actually hit the guy, you'll see that there's a difference. And so the way I tested this is I did the charge attack, the charged R2 on the level 1 axe colossal weapon from the Raider. So it's important to note that the main effect of Frostbite is they take increased damage. So no frost, of course, percentage increase is nothing. With Frostbite on, they were taking about 9% more damage. With this relic, it was like a huge boost. And there is some variance. I had to take like the average. On average, I was hitting for 350 at level 15. I would say at worst, at level 1, it's about 20% more damage. And then, of course, at level 15, it was hitting up to about 27% more damage. And so what it appears to be doing, from what I can tell, is either increasing the value of Frostbite or just giving you some other scaling modifier that then multiplies the Frostbite again for your normal AR. I don't know exactly what it is. I can't see the code. I can only test the damage numbers. So what this means is if you're fighting something that might be weak to Frostbite, or especially if you've got the Mountain available, run this. I mean, there's nothing in the game yet that is specifically weak to Frost. But unlike Poison, even if the enemy's not super weak to Poison, even inflicting Frostbite, they take damage and then they continue to take more damage. So with this, if everybody's running this and you're running Frost all the time, you're doing a lot of extra damage. Now, there's an interesting consideration here. If you were to hit them with fire, it removes the frost and then you can re-inflict the frost. And then that deals another infliction. But I think with this, you would want to coordinate with your team and just say no fire, because the real benefit from this is you're dealing additional damage on top of it, in my opinion. If it was just one guy and then somebody else was dealing fire damage and constantly removing it, I think I would be annoyed. You would be getting more conceals, so like maybe that would be okay. But otherwise, I think coordinated teamwork, just use the Frostbite. So to recap, strength is okay at level 1, but majorly falls off at level 15. Not really worth building. Okay if it's there. Physical attack is nice because no matter what weapon is going to drop, you know that it is going to increase your damage. And it's not that hard to get 3 points or 4 points. And if you're going to go with that and you want to stay flexible, I think that's reasonable. Improved specific attack is when you start getting to be really limiting. Unless it was like colossal weapons or like great sword or bow, you know, something that is not going to be guaranteed. Like you're not going to be guaranteed specifically like great axe attacks, but on Raider, you're guaranteed your starting weapon, all those other things. I think it's okay. When we get to hold 3 weapons, I would say only ever use this if it's your starting weapon type. If it's like hold on to 3 claws, until we get a Night Raider that has starting claws in their weapon kit, don't use it. But if you are Raider and it is like 3+ weapons, I think it's worth it. You're going to be a little limited in terms of your build options. So it's going to be difficult to fill out. So like you'll have 3 weapons that can be flex and 3 weapons that have to be colossal. And you're going to have to make that sort of trade-off in terms of how you build yourself, but I think it's okay. Poison and rot percentage, this is the sort of thing, coordinate with your team and make sure you're fighting a Night Lord that will actually hold on to their poison and is not like actively resisting it and then the poison lasts 10 seconds. But assuming it's something, and again, I don't know the resistances for all the Night Lords, we'll get there. Assuming it's something that you know is going to take decent damage, I think this can be okay. I think better if your team is scaled more towards people that have high arcane. So Executor, I think Duchess. Wilder has some pretty good relics that have plus arcane. It could be okay, but very situational. Frostbite, even more damage. And again, I don't know specifically what things resist frost. I'm assuming there's not direct overlap between frost and poison. This can be really good. But even more than poison and rot, you have to be coordinating with your team that people are not going to be hitting things with fire and then removing the application. Okay. I think interesting stuff. There's definitely way more things for me to test, but I thought, let me get my early results out now. It's still relatively early into the game's release. I think there's probably a lot of people that are curious to see how they should start making their builds. I could start putting build guides together, but I would say specifically coordinate with your team, frost or rot. Then if you have 3+ weapons, use that. Then probably just stack physical attack up. As for magic scaling and stuff like that on the Recluse, I don't know. I gotta test her out. I played her a little bit. I haven't done an extensive amount of testing. Of course, again, thank you again to all of our Twitch tier 3 subscribers, Twitch tier 2 subscribers, our YouTube channel members, and of course, all of the Prime and Twitch tier 1 subscribers. I appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you. Thank you for your support. So if you have any specific questions for things for me to test, there are a lot of things to test here. I know some of you are still waiting for the Akuma testing. I already know what the video is going to be. Right now I love Nightreign. Sorry, going to make more Nightreign content. But we will get back to Monster Hunter at some point. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. Love you, appreciate you. See you soon. Goodbye.